The mysterious disappearance of Brandon Swanson, the case that baffled America. On the night of May 14, 2008, 19-year-old Brandon Swanson, a college student, vanished without a trace after a strange phone call with his parents. Despite extensive searches and ongoing investigations, he has never been found. That night started like any other, but something happened, something inexplicable, that caused Brandon to disappear without leaving a single clue. Brandon had just finished his academic year at Minnesota West Community and Technical College and went out to celebrate with friends in Canby, Minnesota. After midnight, he decided to drive back to his home in Marshall, a town about 30 miles, 48 kilometers away. Brandon got into his car and started his journey home. However, at 1:54 a.m., he called his parents and told them he had driven off the road and his car had gotten stuck in a ditch on a rural road. He assured them he wasn't hurt but needed a ride. He sounded calm and told them he could see the lights of a nearby town, which made him believe he was close to Marshall. His parents immediately got into their car and followed his directions to find him. Meanwhile, Brandon stayed on the phone, walking along the road to reach a more accessible spot. But then, things took a terrifying turn. After about 47 minutes on the phone with his father, Brandon suddenly exclaimed in a panicked voice, "Oh shit!" And then, the call went dead. His father tried calling him back several times, but his phone went straight to voicemail. Brandon had vanished. When police found his car, they realized he was not near Marshall at all. Instead, he was about 25 miles, 40 kilometers away in a completely different direction. The car was intact, its doors were closed, and the keys were missing. Search teams, helicopters, and tracking dogs scoured the area, but there was no trace of Brandon. His footprints were found leading away from the car, suggesting he had walked for miles. But then, something eerie happened. The footprints suddenly stopped near a small river. The tracking dogs lost his scent completely, as if he had vanished into thin air. Theories about his disappearance. 1. He fell into the river. One of the most common theories is that Brandon accidentally fell into the river while walking in the dark, but no evidence supports this. The river wasn't deep and no body was ever found. 2. He was kidnapped or murdered. Some believe Brandon may have encountered someone on the road and was abducted or murdered. However, there were no reports of suspicious activity in the area that night. 3. He disappeared voluntarily. Could Brandon have chosen to run away and start a new life? This theory seems unlikely. He had no reason to disappear, and he was close to his family. 4. Something paranormal happened. Some theorists believe that Brandon's case isn't a typical disappearance. The way his footprints suddenly stopped, his eerie last words, and the complete lack of evidence make some people wonder if he encountered something supernatural. Perhaps a time slip, a dimensional rift, or an unknown force in the wilderness. The last clue. To this day, Brandon Swanson remains missing. His phone, car keys, and body have never been found. His parents still hold on to hope that one day they will learn the truth. Did he fall into the river? Was he taken by someone? Or did he stumble upon something that no one was meant to see? No one. Story 2. The mysterious disappearance of Maura Murray, the girl who vanished after a crash. On the evening of February 9, 2004, Maura Murray, a 21-year-old college student, mysteriously vanished after a car accident on a deserted road in New Hampshire, USA. Her disappearance became one of the most baffling cases in American history. Despite extensive searches, she has never been found, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and eerie theories. The final hours before her disappearance. Maura was a nursing student at the University of Massachusetts Amherst. In the days leading up to her disappearance, she exhibited strange behavior. She emailed her professors, telling them there had been a death in the family, which was untrue, and that she needed time off. Then she packed her belongings, withdrew $280 from an ATM, bought some alcohol, and drove north toward the White Mountains of New Hampshire. No one knows why she left. She didn't tell her family or friends where she was going. At 7:27 p.m., Maura's black 1996 Saturn crashed into a snowbank on Route 112 near Woodsville, New Hampshire. A nearby homeowner saw the accident and called the police. A bus driver passing by stopped to check on her. He said she appeared shaken but uninjured. Mora declined his offer for help, saying she had already called AAA, which later turned out to be false. When the police arrived at 7:46 p.m., Mora was gone. Vanished without a trace. The area was searched immediately, but Mora had disappeared without leaving footprints or any sign of where she had gone. Her car was locked, and inside, investigators found a box, a bottle, her school books, a printed email about her boyfriend's cheating scandal, but her wallet, credit cards, and cell phone were missing, and no calls were made from her phone after the accident. Theories about Mora's disappearance. Is once she ran away. Some believe Mora planned to disappear intentionally. She packed her belongings, withdrew cash, and seemed to be heading to the mountains for an unknown reason. But if she planned this, why leave behind alcohol and school books? 2. She was abducted. Others think Mora might have accepted a ride from a stranger after her crash, only to encounter foul play. But there were no reports of suspicious vehicles or individuals in the area at that time. 3. She died in the woods. Could Mora have wandered into the freezing wilderness and succumbed to the cold? The police searched the forest extensively but found no body, clothing, or footprints leading away from the road. 4. A mysterious connection. Some online detectives link Mora's case to other missing persons and unsolved murders in the area, suggesting the involvement of an unknown serial killer, but no solid evidence supports this theory. The last clue. Years later, investigators discovered a torn piece of fabric near the woods that resembled Mora's clothing, but DNA results were inconclusive. To this day, no one knows what happened to Mora Murray. Was she running from something? Did she meet the wrong person at the wrong time? Or is there a darker truth hiding in the shadows of that lonely road? Story 3. The case of JonBenet Ramsey remains one of the most baffling and widely publicized mysteries in American criminal history. JonBenet Patricia Ramsey, a 6-year-old beauty queen from Boulder, Colorado, was found murdered in her family's home on December 26, 1996. Her death sparked national outrage and continued media attention due to the peculiar circumstances surrounding the case, leading to endless speculation and debate. Background of JonBenet. JonBenet was the youngest child of John and Patsy Ramsey. She had an older brother, Burke, who was 9 years old at the time of the incident. JonBenet had participated in child beauty pageants, a controversial decision that some critics say may have contributed to the public's intense interest in her life and death. She was described as an energetic and bright child, loved by her family and friends. The discovery of JonBenet's body. On the morning of December 26, 1996, Patsy Ramsey discovered a ransom note on the staircase of their home. The note demanded $118,000 in cash for the safe return of JonBenet, and it claimed that the child had been kidnapped. Patsy immediately called the police, and officers arrived at the Ramsey home. However, the situation soon turned grim. Hours later, JonBenet's body was found in the basement of the house. She had been strangled with a garrote, a homemade weapon made from a cord, and there were signs of blunt force trauma to her head. The discovery of her body in the family home, despite the ransom note suggesting a kidnapping, raised many questions. The police initially believed the family might have been involved in some way, as the ransom note seemed staged, and no signs of forced entry into the house were found. The investigation. The investigation quickly turned into one of the most publicized in American history. The police faced criticism for mishandling the initial stages of the case, especially when they allowed the Ramsey family to remain in the home and even let them interact with the crime scene. The authorities were also criticized for not securing the home and for allowing numerous people, including friends and family members, to enter the crime scene. The ransom note was peculiar in many ways. It was unusually long and detailed, including phrases that seemed unnatural, such as, "We are a group of individuals that represent a small foreign faction." There was also the fact that the amount demanded, $118,000, was almost identical to John Ramsey's annual bonus from his company, raising suspicions that the writer knew details about the family's finances. The police and FBI also questioned the authenticity of the note, speculating that it could have been written by someone close to JonBenet or even a family member. The Ramseys as suspects. As the investigation progressed, both John and Patsy Ramsey came under suspicion, primarily because the evidence didn't point to an outsider. The media began to sensationalize their involvement, with some outlets even suggesting that they had killed JonBenet and staged the scene to look like a kidnapping. The Ramseys were subjected to intense public scrutiny, but they consistently maintained their innocence. The intruder theory. The police also investigated the possibility of an intruder breaking into the Ramsey home and killing JonBenet. Several theories were proposed, but no conclusive evidence was found to support this. A series of forensic tests were conducted, but there were no clear fingerprints or DNA belonging to an outsider. However, there were some clues that could not be easily explained. For example, a boot print was found in the dirt in the basement, but no matching prints were found from anyone inside the house. There was also a claim by a family friend that a suspicious figure was seen lurking near the Ramsey home the night of the murder. The DNA evidence. In 1997, DNA testing was performed on evidence collected from the crime scene, including hair and blood samples. The results pointed to an unknown male, not matching anyone from the Ramsey family. The DNA found on JonBenet's clothing was never linked to any known suspects, further complicating the investigation. Over the years, the case grew colder, and the lack of conclusive evidence led to many theories about who could have been responsible. Some believed that the DNA evidence might point to an unknown intruder, while others speculated that it was someone with a personal connection to the Ramseys. The Boulder grand jury indictment. In 1999, a Boulder grand jury voted to indict the Ramseys on charges of child abuse resulting in death, but the indictment was not pursued by the district attorney, who stated that the evidence was not strong enough to bring charges. This decision was controversial and further fueled the public's uncertainty regarding the investigation. The 2008 breakthrough. In 2008, after years of legal battles and public backlash, the Boulder District Attorney officially cleared the Ramsey family of any involvement in JonBenet's death. DNA testing, which had improved over the years, was crucial in this decision. The authorities concluded that an unknown male DNA profile found on JonBenet's clothing was not linked to the family members. This new analysis led many to believe that JonBenet had been murdered by an intruder. Public opinion and ongoing speculation. Despite the official closure of the case, many questions remained unanswered. The Ramseys, who had faced years of media accusations and public opinion against them, continued to maintain their innocence until their deaths. Patsy Ramsey passed away from ovarian cancer in 2006, while John Ramsey has continued to advocate for the case to be solved. The JonBenet Ramsey case continues to spark debate and speculation. Some believe the family was involved, while others are convinced an intruder was responsible. The lack of a definitive answer has left a lasting impact on both the Ramsey family and the American public, with the case remaining one of the most infamous unsolved crimes in modern American history. The mystery of JonBenet Ramsey's death is unlikely to be fully resolved, as it is a case filled with contradictions, missteps in the investigation, and unclear evidence. The public's fascination with the case, fueled by media coverage and a series of theories, has only added to the intrigue. Despite extensive efforts to uncover the truth, the identity of JonBenet's killer remains a haunting and unresolved question. Story 4. The mysterious disappearance of Lisa Titchim. The case of Lisa Titchim, a 21-year-old student from Alabama, remains one of the most perplexing missing person cases in the United States. Her sudden disappearance in May 1985 left her family, friends, and the police grappling for answers. Despite years of investigation, the mystery surrounding her disappearance remains unsolved. The last day. Lisa Titchim was a bright young woman who had just finished her sophomore year at the University of Alabama. On May 7, 1985, she planned to attend a party in Gadsden, Alabama, where her friends were gathering to celebrate the end of the school year. Lisa left her home around 7:30 p.m., planning to meet up with friends. She was last seen at a gas station along the way to the party. Lisa's mother, Nancy Titchim, recalls, "Lisa had promised me she would be home by midnight. She wasn't the type of girl to disappear or miss curfew. But when the clock struck 1 a.m., I started to worry." Around 10:30 p.m., Lisa stopped at a local gas station, which was the last confirmed sighting of her. She was seen chatting with a man in his late 20s at the station. The conversation was reported as normal, and nothing seemed out of the ordinary. The disappearance. When Lisa didn't arrive at the party or return home that night, her family began to panic. The next morning, Lisa's car was found parked on a secluded road just a few miles from where she had last been seen. The vehicle was locked, and no signs of a struggle were found. The keys were still in the ignition, but Lisa was nowhere to be found. Nancy Tickham recalls the moment she first realized something was seriously wrong. "I remember standing in front of her car, hoping she was just going to walk out from behind the trees, saying she had gotten a ride. But nothing. Just silence." A search began immediately. Authorities scoured the area near the gas station, the surrounding woods, and even the nearby rivers, but there was no trace of Lisa. The authorities interviewed her friends, hoping someone could provide information, but all leads came up empty. The investigation. As the investigation continued, detectives uncovered a strange fact. The last person Lisa was seen with at the gas station had not been identified. A few days after her disappearance, a composite sketch of the man was circulated, but no one came forward with any substantial information. It was speculated that the man might have been a stranger or someone who had been watching Lisa. Despite the efforts of local authorities and private investigators, there was no clear evidence as to what happened to Lisa after she left the gas station. Several theories began to emerge, including kidnapping, foul play, or even the possibility that Lisa had run away. But none of these theories were substantiated. The family's struggle. Nancy Tickham was relentless in her search for answers. She spoke to local media outlets, attended every meeting related to the case, and even hired private investigators to look into the disappearance. She recalls, "I could feel it in my bones that Lisa wasn't just missing. Something bad had happened. I couldn't stop thinking about the man she had spoken to at the gas station." Over the next several months, the family received numerous tips from the public, but all of them proved to be dead ends. One of the most disturbing calls Nancy received came from a woman who claimed to have seen Lisa in a nearby town, but when authorities followed up, they discovered it was a hoax. New evidence. The mysterious tip. More than a year after Lisa's disappearance, a new lead came in. An anonymous caller told the police that they knew where Lisa's body was hidden, leading investigators to a remote part of the woods. A search was conducted in that area, but no body was found. This prompted further public speculation that Lisa had been abducted and possibly murdered. In 1987, 2 years after Lisa went missing, a chilling discovery was made. Human remains were found in a remote area just outside Gadsden, Alabama. The remains were identified as Lisa Tickham's. The discovery was made after a local man, who had been walking his dog in the area, noticed bones protruding from the ground. The man, who wished to remain anonymous, shared his experience. "I was walking along the trail when I noticed something that didn't look right. There were pieces of cloth and bones scattered in the area. At first I thought it might have been animal remains, but when I looked closer, I knew it wasn't. I called the authorities right away." The investigation's turning point forensic experts were able to confirm that the remains belonged to Lisa Tickham. However, they could not determine the cause of death with certainty due to the condition of the body. The discovery left many questions unanswered. How did Lisa end up so far from where her car was found? Who was responsible for her death? Local authorities speculated that Lisa might have been abducted by someone who had been watching her for some time. The police even considered the possibility that the man she spoke to at the gas station could have been involved in her disappearance, but no concrete evidence linked him to the crime. One of the lead investigators, Detective Michael Simmons, explained, "We're left with more questions than answers. The man at the gas station remains a mystery and we can't prove anything conclusively. Unfortunately, we don't have enough evidence to bring anyone to justice." Theories and speculation. There are several theories about what happened to Lisa. Some believe that she was abducted by a stranger, while others suspect someone close to her might have been involved. A few even speculate that Lisa's death may have been accidental, possibly the result of an encounter gone wrong. The police also investigated the possibility that Lisa had been a victim of a serial killer who had been active in the area at the time, though this theory was never substantiated. Despite numerous interviews, DNA tests, and forensic investigations, the killer was never identified. Closure and ongoing questions. In 1991, Lisa's case was officially closed. While her remains were found, the circumstances surrounding her death remained an enigma. Her family never gave up hope of finding out the truth, but the lack of answers was devastating. Nancy Teacham, still grieving her daughter's loss, says, "We will never know why Lisa was taken from us, but I believe that someday the truth will come out. Someone knows what happened to her." The case of Lisa Teacham's disappearance continues to haunt the town of Gadsden, and it serves as a painful reminder of how quickly someone can vanish without a trace. Though answers may never come, her story remains a chilling example of how some mysteries remain unsolved. Conclusion. The disappearance and death of Lisa Teacham remain one of the most unsettling cases in Alabama's history. Despite years of searching, new evidence, and the efforts of many dedicated individuals, the truth about what happened to Lisa that night in 1985 is still unknown. Her case reminds us of the fragility of life and the lingering questions that can follow a tragic event. If you enjoy mysterious and creepy stories, make sure to subscribe to my channel, Dark Whispers, for more chilling tales. Join the community and stay tuned for new content uploaded regularly. Don't miss out on any of the suspense and intrigue.